In this video, we're going to look at topic 73, example 2, add and subtract complex numbers. But I want to start with the concept of complex numbers, so we didn't get into that in too much detail in last video. So the imaginary unit I is the principal square root of -1. Then I squared is equal to -1. An imaginary number is any number, bi, where b is a non-zero real number, and I is the square root of -1. Complex numbers are numbers that can be written in the form a plus bi, where a and bi are real numbers, and I is the square root of -1. They include all real and imaginary numbers, as well as the sum of real and imaginary numbers. Right, so two of the main takeaways from here, and this includes the previous video, is that we want to remember that anytime we have I squared, that's equal to -1. We also want to remember that the square root of -1 is equal to I. And then the form that we're looking to write most of our complex numbers in is a plus bi, where a and b, again, are real numbers. Do things like 5, -2, 8, stuff like that. A could be 0, right? You could have something like 0 plus 3i. However, b cannot be 0. All right, if b is 0, then it's no longer a complex number, right? Because that I value would kind of be eliminated. So remember that I squared is -1, and the square root of -1 is I. So let's start with these two examples, or let's get going with these two examples. Add and subtract complex numbers. How can you add and subtract complex numbers? You're combining like terms. All right, really what you're looking to do, you want to just treat this as if this was, instead of 4 minus 7i, treat it as if it was 4 minus 7x, or 4 minus 7a, or n, any variable. So we're going to take that 4 minus 7i. Since we're adding a group, nothing is going to change. The addition doesn't really affect anything. So we can drop the addition sign and just bring down the -11 plus 9i. And then I'm going to group these. You don't have to do this next step. You can just combine like terms, but I'm going to put them together. So I have 4 minus 11 plus the -7i plus 9i. A lot of you will find that skipping this step is a little bit better and just combining your like terms, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to group together like terms. So 4 minus 11i would be -7. Sorry, not -11i. 4 minus 11 is -7. And then I'm going to add to that -7i plus 9i, which is 2i. Can't do anything else with that. -7 and 2i are unlike terms. And like we mentioned previously, a plus bi. So this is in the form a plus bi, where a is -7 and b would be a +2. Part B, when we're subtracting, we have to be a little bit more careful. The first group, 6 plus 8i, can just come down. We don't have to do much with that. However, the second group, we're subtracting this entire group. So you need to think of this as distribution. So we're going to subtract 2, and we're going to subtract -5i, which means we're going to add 5i. Right? Subtracting a negative is changing that sign. Again, if you want to group these together, you can, like I did in part A, where I showed those two new groups of parentheses. However, if you just want to put like terms together, if you're pretty good at this, 6 minus 2 would be 4, and then a +8i and a +5i, 8 plus 5 would be 13, and the I comes along. Remember, when you're adding or subtracting, you're not changing the I value. That wouldn't become I squared. We'll get to that in the next section when we start multiplying. But for this video and adding and subtracting, 8i plus 5i is 13i. Once again, this is in the form a plus bi. So the 4 would be your a value and 13 would be your b value. If you added these up, let's just say you got 13i plus 4. You do want to rewrite these, so we want to keep putting them in the form a plus bi. It's just the standard way to write them. It's kind of the proper way. So if you do get something like this where the I term is first, just rewrite them in the form that we wrote our answer in. All right, that's it. Try the try it problems, and you should be good to go with this.